Hey guys! I am going to do a video on hide and seek with Hootie today so that you can see how to set this up at home and follow through. I don't know if we're going to have time to go over hide and seek at your go home, so this video will be your training video so you'll know what to do when he comes home. So the first thing that I do is, I get the dog out of their crate, do the doors, potty them, then I put them on place, and they're gonna wait until I'm ready to release them to go search for the treat. So I've got my speaker box set up so you're gonna be able to hear the work that I'm doing with him on the e-collar. You're gonna hear some whining from Hootie right now. And I think that, from our discussion last, I think that everyone's on the same page in terms of it makes sense as to why your dogs are anxious. And even though Hootie's a wonderful dog, he doesn't particularly, I wouldn't say he's super stoked about being told to stay in one place, just like he's not super stoked to come when called off of things he's more interested in. And so this is kind of one of those things where it's like, these are the rules, these are the expectations, and I know this is really hard for you, but you'll get used to them over time and they won't make you feel so anxious. But in general, every time I do place work with Hootie, he does whine at me. I might eventually start using the e-collar to make that whining stop, but for right now, I just want to give him lots of opportunity to kind of learn how to soothe himself and calm himself down and kind of succumb to these rules and boundaries without me intervening constantly. Alright, so he's on place and I'm going to go grab some treats. You'll notice that I do have him back tied right now to a place board. By the end of this session I'll hide some treats without it to test him, but when he first comes out, he's ready to break place every opportunity that he gets, and so the back tie gives that leash that's hooked to my retaining wall right there, keeping him in place, ensures that he'll stay and I can go and do what I need to do without worrying about whether or not he's going to break. So this is something I encourage my clients to do if they feel like the dog isn't complying on place very well when they first come home. I imagine both of your dogs are going to be pretty off-put by the new rules and stuff, and they might test you, so the back tie might help. If you're going to use a back tie setup, you're going to notice that the place board is set up against a wall, and the back tie is in the dead center of the place board. So what that does is, they can't get off of place from the back side of it, and because the leash is in the center of the place board, they can't get off left, right, or in the front of the place board either. So any other setup is going to set you up for failure. If it's not set up against a wall, he will be able to get off the back side of it. If the leash isn't in the dead center of the place board, he's going to be able to get off to the left or the right. So this is the only way to set up a back tie if you want to do it correctly and have that effective tool to ensure that he does not break place. So now I have a treat, and I'm just going to do something simple right over here to start. He's much better at this, but this at least allows this activity to be within camera view. And what I'm doing right now is I'm faking where I put the treat. So you notice I kept acting like I kept bending down all over the rocks, and it's because dogs are smart enough. If you just go right over to a rock and set a treat down and go back to the dog, he's going to know exactly where that treat is. So I want to trick him by acting like I'm hiding it all over the place so that he has to use his nose to find it instead of, having seen what happened and then there's no challenge. You can just go over and get the treat. Alright, so now that I placed the treat, we're going to get Hootie to go find it. And what I did there is he like, if the back tie wasn't there, he probably would have broke place. The back tie stopped him. But me coming over, put this right here. Me coming over and grabbing the leash, in his mind, he said, okay, you grabbing the leash means I'm finally going to get off this place board. And that's not the release word from place. I say let's go or find it in order to release them from their place board. So the last thing I want to see from a dog is when I go to grab their leash, they get up. And when they do, I back off and say, that's not the game I'm playing. That's it. You're anticipating my behavior too much. You're anticipating what's next too much. So I'm going to put this right back down and start over again until he can contain himself the entire time. You know, he has an enormous erection right now, and I know you asked about that at the midweek. So he's worked up. You know, Hootie is an excellent dog. He's got a great temperament, and he's a pleaser. He wants to be a part of his pack so bad. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't have work to do. He's got tons of anxiety, just not as bad as Clooney's. And this you can see how big I don't know if you can actually, it's an enormous erection. He's over aroused right now. And we haven't done anything, like literally anything yet in this session. So, some of the ways to really combat this anxiety and over-arousal is actually a lot of place work. A lot of, just calm down, dude, just relax. Just lay here, just be. You don't need to be busy all the time. You don't need to be always going. Just relax. It's one of the greatest cure-alls for anxiety and over-arousal. Super counterintuitive because most people will go, well, I need to go run him for 3 miles. He's anxious. No, you'll actually build stamina for anxiety if you do that. So they need physical exercise, but they actually need to understand how to be in order to actually be. Physical exercise isn't going to take away the anxiety. So it's almost, I like to think of it more like teaching the dog to meditate. That is a huge anxiety reliever, meditation. So I think of place work as meditative, and it's their Zen place. So if you want to, the handful of things to eliminate anxiety and over-arousal is create time so they catch up on sleep, boundaries, rules, place work, and trying to prevent prey drive as much as possible so that they aren't in an adrenaline state all the time. And I'm kind of just sitting here talking to you about these concepts because I actually would like to see I hate to be so descript with you guys, but his erection is, a few inches big. So it's not just like a little tip of excitement. This is kind of crazy. So I'm just going to kind of wait for this. I'm just kind of trying to wait for this overstimulating moment for him. They just self-soothe, calm yourself down, chill out, to kick in before I start this, putting him in a tracking state of mind, which is very arousing. It's very exciting. He's food motivated. It's prey drive, so I really kind of want to see more like this. It might not be this dramatic when you start. I've done, no. He's not been this excited about sit. Since we've started it, so I don't know what got into his breakfast this morning, but obviously he's very worked up. Since he's still working this out, I want to talk about his e-collar work a little bit because he is very dramatic. you guys to understand this drama. If I ask him to do something on a 3, which is 3, you guys, I can't remember what your numbers were, like 14 and 17 or something like that. If I ask him to do something on a 3 and I give him lots and lots and lots and lots of repetitions to get it right, but he won't do it, and then I go up to a 4 and it makes it happen, if he is really that resistant to it, he'll like flick his head like you just saw. I don't want to sit. You know, he's frustrated, and the frustration, he has had tons of repetitions. So this frustration to me is not so much in I don't know the word sit, or I don't know what you're asking of me right now. I just genuinely am not interested in listening, and I'm not really a fan of the fact that this tool is effective in reinforcing what you're asking. That's what that conversation means. So I'm telling you this because I don't want you to be hard on the e-collar with him. You know, he shouldn't be squealing and stuff, and that's probably a much more of an indicator that it's too high. But the flicking of the head, with Hootie specifically, this is not all dogs, but Hootie has become very dramatic, and it's always in situations where he has more self-interest in what he's doing than what I want him to do. That's when I see it the most. So, you know, 90% of the time I don't get it at all. But when he goes out and he's on a smell, and he would prefer to stay on that smell than to come to me, and I go up one number at a time, the number that works makes him dramatic. Oh! I can't believe you. I've been able to not come when called my entire life, and now I have to. This is bullshit. That's how I would interpret that. And in this case, we know he's over-aroused, he's anxious, so he obviously doesn't want to sit still. I understand that's hard. So I go to a 3, I say sit. He doesn't. I tap, 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 go up to the 4, then he dramatically sits. And then he itches. So to me it's, I don't want to sit, I'm not interested in this, and how can I take this damn collar off because I'm sick and tired of its effectiveness? How can we get back to the good old days where I could selectively choose whether or not I wanted to listen? So I have to point that out with Hootie because Clooney doesn't do that. None of the other board and trains I have do that. He is, you know, you guys have, that was one of your biggest things with him is selective listening. It was your number one complaint with this guy. So it makes a lot of sense to me that considering he doesn't have a lot of behavioral issues, but he's got enough self-interest to selectively listen, that would be the one place that he might be dramatic when I start to take control over that. It makes a lot of sense to me. So as long as you know that you've gone up one number at a time and you've given him enough opportunity to make the right choice, because it's not like he can't hear you. It's not like the selective listening is actually the inability to hear. He hears you. As long as you've given him plenty of opportunities and you're going up slowly one at a time, that one number that finally works is probably a lot more him being dramatic than it being too high. So, I just wanted to point that out. Let him calm down a little bit. Let's see how he handles me grabbing the leash now. See how I let him calm himself down. He still has an enormous erection, but much calmer to the point where I can grab the leash and he's not trying to barrel off. Now he's in more of a I need to wait until she tells me otherwise state of mind. So the treat has already been hidden. I'm going to present the smell to him so he knows what it is that we're looking for. I'm going to wait for some eye contact. Find it. And then I'm going to find it and release him. And what you're going to see is him actively searching. You know, that nose is going to start actively looking around. The treat he's on it. Good boy. Good boy, Hootie. Good much harder places, but I want to make this video for you guys, and I want you to be able to see a little bit better. So the numbers that I just put him on place for, after having found the treat, is the same number that he flipped out over a second ago. Just to give, it's a 4. Just to give you some perspective, I just really want you guys to have a really good picture of what this is going to look like when he comes home, because I think, you know, I don't want to break his spirit, and I don't want to correct him on the e-collar, but I also don't want him to learn how to use his dramatic disagreements to get out of using the e-collar, because it's such an effective tool and it's a consistent line of communication, right? So the 4, putting him back on place just twice now in a row, he didn't flip out because he wasn't as resistant to it, right? So this is Hootie specific, by the way. Not all dogs do this. All right, so once they find the treat, I call them back to me, celebrate, put them back on place, and then I repeat. I'm going to go hide another treat. This time I'm not going to back tie him because he seems like he's calmed down a lot. And I want to stay within a reasonable camera range. So I'm just going to kind of dink around over here. So I hit it. Move this a bit. You can see him when he finds it. Gotta go grab the leash, see what he does. Perfect. See, he's getting better. And this is the kind of not breaking and anticipating is what happens when you give them enough time to settle down. So, eye contact. Good job, Hootie. Fine. I don't need to present the smell again because he knows now what we're looking for. And he's probably going over here because I've been hiding the treats way more over on this side of the yard. But the treat's never been hidden over here before. So that's why he's going that way. Now what I don't want to do too much of is, it's right there, man. It's right there. And point it out. Really, really want that nose to have to find it on its own. And so far, in Hootie's case, I've only had to give him directions once with find it. He pretty much caught on right away and actively used that nose to find it. But if he gets confused, what I would encourage you to do find it is to kind of, and I think we're getting confusion right now. So it's right here, right? So what I would do if I were you is stand about 5 or 10 feet away from the tree and find it. Find it. Find it. And just start kind of encouraging that motion again so he can get that nose back in there. And this is exhausting for the brain because, you know, dogs sniff all the time. There's not usually something specific for them to target. Come on, find it. So he's actually actively looking for something with his nose, which is a lot different from just mindlessly sniffing around. So what I love about this activity is that it's so active. He's in prey drive, but there's a mission behind it. That it fulfills their prey drive, for one. Good boy, Hootie! Good boy! It fulfills their prey drive for one, but at the same time, it wears them out. Dogs constant state of prey drive tend to gain energy until they crash because there's an adrenaline upload. You know, when they're in that when their sense is heightened, there's a natural adrenaline and cortisol production. So a lot of times, a lot of the cases I work, dogs are in that state of mind all the time, so they're actually escalating all day long and getting worse. But what we're doing is we're saying, okay, let me focus this prey drive in one area so I can fulfill it, and you can smell and you can get that hunting side out of you. But I'm going to create a bunch of rules and boundaries. I'm going to create a self-soothing process so that you learn how to calm yourself down when you're in that state of mind. And I'm going to switch the hell out of the drive. So when I call him back to me, he comes into pack drive. When I put him on place, he goes into pack drive. When he waits, he's in pack drive. When he gives me eye contact, he's in pack drive. And then I send him out into prey drive. So the combination of all those things make this prey drive activity productive, exhausting, and very rewarding for the dog at the end of the day. So typically I only do 2 fines. So he's done 2 fines, and then let me just show you. What I'll do, put them back on place, wait for them to be calm, and then I'll do some long line work. Let's go. So this long line portion of the activity is to create an off switch that says, hey, we're not finding it right now. Right now we're not in a find it mode, so I don't want my yard or my house to represent a treat dispenser. So this gives me an off switch to say, let's go. Say, okay, when I say find it, that means go find it. When I say let's go or here or come or whatever, that actually means that we're not in that mode right now. I'm going to bring you all the way back down to that pack drive state while you're walking around my yard so that you don't feel the need to actively look for treats for the rest of your life. Please. That's why I do it. So I do 2 fines with all those rules and boundaries. A little bit, not a lot of long line work, just a little bit, just to get that brain back with the human, back into that non-tracking mode. I'm focused on my handler. And then I'll do 2 more. So I'll do 2 more find its. Now we're going on about 25 minutes, so I'll do 1 more fine. And then I'm going to wrap this up. Place. Perfect. He didn't break when I grabbed the leash. Waiting for eye contact. Find it. Good job. Find it. Find it. So you know how I was telling you that Hootie, once I taught Hootie pack drive, I'm having a hard time getting him to go out. You know, and I really don't want my dog stuck to me all the time. I don't want to breed separation anxiety. So this is a great activity to get him go out and leave your side. Which I know that sounds weird because when you first hired me, he wouldn't stay at your side. But I want to make sure that he still feels a sense of independence as well as understanding when he needs to be in a heel position. Find it. I can hear in his voice that he's exhausted, by the way, just from this. being able to send him out and give him that independence, and where he's not in a heel position all the time, you'll notice that that's just actually, I don't know, maybe you won't notice from the video, but that's hard for him. He's very attached to me, which is good and bad. It's like, I want him to feel separation anxiety, because he's not next to me, you know? Place? Good. I'm not gonna do any more fines. He just got real anxious, and I can tell that from his breathing and his eyes. His eyes are really mellow, and his breathing is like, so you can tell that, I know it's crazy because he hasn't really done very much, and his brain has done a lot. He's had to compose himself, calm himself down, stay on place, wait for my permission, actively search, find it, go back to place, repeat. Might seem simple, but he's mentally pooped. So I'm just gonna let him sit on place and calm down a little bit more, and then I'm gonna wrap this video up. But what I don't want you guys to get yourself into when you're doing this activity with him is showing him where the treat is or giving him some sort of indicator where it is, because he is so clingy and he's a bit needy. And so I want him to go out and find the treat and gain confidence in being by himself and not create a dependence on his handler for everything. And this is an activity where we can actually start to really give him that independence and say, go find it, go get it. So that would be definitely my biggest piece of advice for hide and seek. And then when you end this activity, you really want to make sure he's calmed himself down on place before you wrap it up. That way he's really developed that off switch that we need him to understand, to say, we're not looking for treats anymore. Preferably he would lay down and not whine. I think I told you guys this is the go home. This is the hardest for him. Place work. He really struggles with place work. He doesn't like to be away from me. He doesn't like to be told to stay in one place. He has a hard time calming himself down. So he excels the most in staying in place. Being appropriate at crate doors. He's great at door work. He's great at walking in a heel, walking by distractions. Those are all huge pluses for Hootie. Where Hootie struggles the most is sitting still on place and relaxing. And his recall is still not where I would like it to be, which I've got plenty of time with him. I've got, what's today? Thursday? I've still got 4 more days, so I'll definitely get it. But I just, I get that drama. I really wanted to smell that. So I'd kind of like to, I don't know if I'll get rid of that in a 2-week board and train, but I wish I could get him to the point where he was just like, yeah, I'll come. Absolutely, I don't need to throw a fit. But those are the 2 areas that I have found Hootie needs the most work in. And so I kind of want to give you that heads up too, because I do only have 4 more days, and so these are things that you might see when he comes home. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm going to make a one on Clooney here in a sec.